This is the Brain, and you're listening to the Geekcast Radio Network. Yes!
It's time for the telecast, brought to you by
the Geekcast Radio Network. And here is your host for the show, Optimus Solo.
All right, thank you, Mouse Chipmunk and Guy with the deep sounding voice. Like they said, I am your host, Kevin Optimus Solo Thompson. You may have heard me as a co-host on a couple of the other Geekcast radio shows, especially Tooncast. And today I am joined by the two co-founders of Geekcast Radio Network. First off, I am joined by Steve Megatron Phillips. Hello.
Hello.
And, of course, you've heard him on just about every Geekcast Radio podcast, so you should be familiar with him. And my other guy I have with me is my other host from Tooncast, and he has also done just about every Geekcast Radio show, and that is Mike TFG1 Blanchard.
I don't have to do any work. I just have to show up.
Yeah, that'll be a nice change for you, huh?
Exactly.
Yes.
Vacation.
So, what's been going on with you guys lately, Steve?
A lot of voiceover projects I've been in, as well as recording a bunch of podcasts for next week.
Excellent. What can we expect to be coming out here in the not too distant future here for Geekcast Radio?
Well, we got M-Wire with the Waterboy. We got TBU, The Beast Unleashed, episode 26. Of course, Tooncast.
Yeah.
What is our next episode coming out for Tooncast, Mike?
Probably Scooby-Doo.
Yeah.
Is that the next one to hit the air?
Yeah, Tooncast episode 77, Scooby-Doo, which is pretty much any Scooby-Doo series before 1988. And, of course, Scrappy-Doo rules, yes.
Well, if you want to hear thoughts about Scrappy-Doo and people who like him and people that don't, make sure you tune into that episode. What else have you been doing lately, Mike?
Nothing.
Nothing.
It's
Mike has been sitting on his butt doing nothing. That kind of leads us right into what the heck are we talking about with the telecast and what is the telecast? Basically, the idea came to me as we were recording episodes of Tooncast. And if you're not aware of what Tooncast is, obviously it's a show that's about cartoons from the past. A lot of 80s cartoons, 90s cartoons, classic cartoons from like the 50s, 60s, 70s. And as we were recording all those shows, I started thinking about other shows that I liked from when I was a child, but we couldn't do on Tooncast because they weren't cartoons. So I kind of got the idea that we should do something for all these other shows that I grew up with that were not cartoons. So the idea came along to have a podcast dedicated to more of these live action or puppet type shows that were playing when I was a child. So that's what season 1 of the telecast is going to focus on, basically kids programming for anybody that grew up in the 80s. So if you were born anytime in the 80s, whether it was early 80s or late 80s, we're going to try to hit stuff that you watched as a child. So that's kind of where it all came along. And like I said, this is going to be season 1, which should give you kind of a little forewarning that there could be other stuff to come later on, but I'm not going to necessarily give away what to expect in future seasons. So quick question as far as the format of the show you might have, what kind of stuff can you expect us to be talking about? Basically, it's not going to be so much of a review as some of the other podcasts that we've done are. It's more of a reminiscing or discussion of stuff that we liked when we were kids. So you're going to hear theme songs from the shows. You're going to hear a spattering of, that's a nice word, spattering, of sound clips from some of the shows. We'll give you DVD release info. I'm going to pull a VH1 on you and kind of tell you like a where are they now type thing as far as the actors that were involved in the shows. We'll try to throw in some interesting trivia. Basically, we're going to do our best to entertain you, inform you, and reinforce the geek in you as far as kids programming goes. Another question you might have is what kind of shows are we going to be covering? We're going to try to hit them all. For example, Mike, what's one of your favorite shows that you grew up with that wasn't a cartoon, kid show?
I dug Saved by the Bell, but I really latched onto the college years. That was really cool to see them, because I had seen Saved by the Bell a lot when it was on, but when they went to the college years show, I was like, oh, it's nice. They're actually, a show that actually continues the continuity of the previous show. And I love the Saved by the Bell college years theme song. It's just so cool.
Yeah, so that's a great example of some of the stuff we'll have. We're going to cover all things Saved by the Bell, so it doesn't matter which version of Saved by the Bell you like. It's going to be somewhere on our schedule. Steve, what about you? What's one of your favorite shows from growing up?
Pee-wee's Playhouse.
Yeah, so Pee-wee's Playhouse is something that you can expect to hear on the season 1. Another one I was thinking of, one of my favorites when I was growing up, was the live-action game show of Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego. So that's the type of stuff you can hear. Any Muppet fans, you're going to get Sesame Street, The Muppet Show, stuff like that. So there's going to be a little bit of everything, a little bit something for everyone. And we're going to also try something new. Hopefully it doesn't bomb in our faces, or else Mike's going to get his way. Basically, the second to last episode, we're going to do something called a Listener's Choice episode, which basically I'm going to give you guys all season of the telecast to write in, email us, voicemail us, whatever, with your pick for a show that you want us to cover. And basically, the only rules are it has to be something that was airing either in the 80s or early 90s when an 80s child would be growing up, and it has to be geared towards kids, and it can't be a cartoon. So basically, when it comes down to the second to last episode, we'll tally up the votes, and we will cover whatever you guys want us to cover. If you guys don't vote, then I have to cover what Mike wants me to cover.
Now, hold on. Well, let's give some preface here. The only listener's choice that I want to axe and make guest host choice is for season 1, because every other season so far has shows that I want to talk about. So, I mean, the only one that I'm really going to pretty much take over the show for is season 1. And
so he's basically going to be politicking the entire year to try to get your votes for a certain show.
Video Power. Anybody remembers Video Power? It was a game show in the 80s that did have animation in it. So I know that's kind of going against Kevin's rule here of live action, but you can actually separate Video Power from Power Team. So
and I don't have anything against Video Power, but I'm going to be campaigning the whole year for some other show to get more votes just to piss Mike off.
No.
So we'll see how that goes, and if it goes good, then we're going to do it for future seasons as well. I haven't told Mike or Steve about this, but I'm also going to be doing a contest during this first season. It's going to be, all I'm going to say right now is that there will be a prize that you can win, and the contest will have something to do with theme songs. If you want to know more about what that contest is going to be, you're going to have to tune in to episode 1, though.
I already know what it is.
So I will just kind of put that
I already
out there.
know what it is. You shouldn't even said theme songs. I already know.
But we'll leave it at that. Tune into episode 1. See what you're going to have to do. You're going to have all season to try to figure it out or to win the prize, so to speak. So that's stuff to come too. So basically, just going to each one of you guys, since these guys are going to be basically my co-hosts on, I would say, 80-90% of the season 1 episodes.
Yeah.
What kind of stuff?
Take.
Yeah. What kind of stuff interests you, Steve, or what kind of stuff are you excited about as far as the telecast season 1?
Definitely, I'd have to say the Salute Your Shorts, the Bill Nye the Science Guy. A lot of the other shows that I used to watch as a kid, Fraggle Rock, The Muppets.
Mm-hmm.
The Muppets I'm really pumped about. Guts. A lot of the game shows that were on, I used to sit and watch those back to back to back, flipping between channels.
Yeah.
So, there's a lot that we still have, to cover through the lifespan of this show.
Yeah, and I think one thing that kind of brought up an idea in my head, and one thing I'm going to enjoy about it is, a lot of these shows I have not watched since I was a kid, and it's not like some of the cartoons where I've since bought them on DVD and I've watched them, and I've like obviously we're all huge Transformers fans, so we've seen those multiple times. But some of these shows that are on the schedule, I literally have not seen since the 80s or the early 90s. So it's going to be fun for me just rewatching them and seeing what I think about them now. I don't know how many of the shows on the schedule you guys have seen recently, but for me it's going to be a lot of kind of attaching to these shows again or reliving them one more time.
Oh, yeah.
As soon as you sent me the schedule, before we even got to the point of multiple seasons, and of course that'll come later, but when you sent me schedule for the first 35 episodes that you were going to do, and I saw Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego, and at first I kind of questioned you and kind of goaded you, like, why the hell is it, why are you covering the cartoon? And like, no, the old gay. I'm like, oh, okay, the gay. And as soon as that happened, and like almost throughout this whole entire recording of episode 0 so far, I've had the theme song in my head.
It's a great
I
theme
can't
song.
stop listening. I can't stop just
Rockapella.
Fella, yep.
But yeah, I mean and that's an example. That is a game show that I absolutely loved as a kid. I am telling you, God's honest truth, I have not watched it since it was airing originally.
Yeah.
I've listened to the theme song.
Well, then they had a continuation of it, Where in Time.
Right. I don't know. I don't think I ever saw that one. I just remember the one that they had basically the whole outline of the map on the floor, and they had the little light up poles that they put on in the bonus round or whatever you want to call it. And that's going to be kind of some of the fun stuff that's going to come around telecast, because I'm guessing a lot of our listeners maybe haven't seen some of these shows since they originally aired too. So it's going to be stuff that as you're listening to episodes, stuff's going to trigger in your mind, and you're going to be like, oh, I remember that, or oh, I love that, and that's what's going to be the cool part about telecast for me. Yep.
And then I think, and I haven't really mentioned this to Kevin yet, but I think if we do like over on Tooncast, I have a clip from Tara Strong as Bubbles saying, Tooncast will be back after these messages. I think every show, at least for this first season, we need to use, after these messages, we'll be right back.
And we will, because I already have them all ready to go. So you're going to hear lots of nostalgic sound clips and all kinds of stuff like that. Even, and we're going to, I'm also flirting with the idea there may be a few supplemental shows where we kind of just go off the script and we're not talking about a specific show, but maybe we do some different lists or favorites or stuff like that. So you might see some other stuff besides just covering the shows just in relation to kids TV shows back in the 80s or early 90s. You guys have any other thoughts about telecast before we wrap this up and get everybody set for episode 1?
I'm not sure if Kevin's going to do this, but I suggested to him to do. I mean, most of our other shows, like Tooncast Now and M-Wire, Movie Week in Review, and the Beast Unleashed podcast, we have exclusive art for each episode, and I've suggested to him to find pictures or, even I could find, pictures for Steve to make art for that specific episode. So if there's a picture out there for the Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego game, that would be the exclusive art for you guys. And that, that's just another little collectible thing that we've been doing over the last year and a half that GCRN has been up. So
right. And if you're curious about what kind of shows, besides the ones obviously that you've heard us mention, tune into episode 1. I'll give you a place to go as far as to see the entire schedule of shows. And the reason I'm going to put that out at the beginning is so that you can start voting for the one you want to be the listener's choice, and you won't be voting for one that's already on the schedule. So there's a couple things you want to tune into episode 1. Number 1, to hear what the whole theme song contest is about. 2, to get a whole schedule of shows so you can start voting for the show of your choice for the listener's choice episode. And obviously you want to tune in because we're going to be talking about some cool stuff.
Yes.
So any other thoughts from you, Steve?
Nope.
All right. I think that does it for episode 0. Hopefully you have a decent idea of what the Telecast Season 1 is going to be all about. So thank you for joining us here on the Telecast. If you want to leave us feedback on the show, there's going to be 3 main ways to do this. First, you can visit the website, www.geekcastradio.com, where you're going to be able to comment on all of the different podcasts and each of our episodes as we air them. Second, once we get going, you can rate our shows and leave us feedback in iTunes, and I'll give you more information about that in episode 1. Or if you want your comments to be a part of a future show, you can call the voicemail line, 502-526-5821. Just tell us the show that you're leaving it for, so the telecast, and give us some type of name or screen name that we can use so that we can give you some credit there. So that does it for now, and we hope that you join us next time when we have episode 1, which is going to be Steve and I talking about Salute Your Shorts. For now, I am your host, Optimus Solo, with
Steve Megatron Phillips
and TFG1 Mike.
Saying thank you for listening. Until next time.
Sprocket, old boy, what are you barking at? What do you see?
It's a beautiful day in this neighborhood, a beautiful day for a neighbor. Would you be mine? Could you be mine? It's a neighborly day in this beauty wood, a neighborly day for a beauty. Would you be mine? Could you be mine?
We hold you in our hearts, and when we think about you, I hope we wanna part.
Guys.
Ready. 1, 2.
1, 2, 3.
You.
Oh,
Who?
you. You, me, you see who? Me? No, you. Don't you see? Take a look. It's in a book, a reading rainbow. Sneaks around the world from here to Carolina. Sticky finger touch from Berlin down to Belize. Take me for a ride on a slow motion China. Tell me where in the world is
Carmen, San Diego.